Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live chat. I see you in the chat already. Wyatt, welcome back once again. Michael, it's good to see you. Walleye what? Let's do it, man. Let's talk walleye. I'm not scared. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the live chat. If we haven't met, my name is Randall. I have a small charter that I run primarily out of Lewistown Lake, and we're doing live streams on Tuesday. We're going to do this up to my event called Fishin and Grillin', and you guys should make that. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but that's a couple weeks yet. So on Tuesdays between 8 and 9, we're doing these live streams. See if you can make it out to it. If you're catching up later, just kind of fast forward this a little bit for about 5 or 10 minutes into it, because I'm going to give people a chance to know that this is a live stream, kind of get them to catch up. So I see you guys in the chat, though. You guys been out on the water? I told you to go out on the water. Hopefully you guys all made it there. But good evening, Bruce. Buck, I see you too. Good evening, both of you. I think I have a pretty good chat lined up. I got some good notes to share with you. So, but before I get into any of that, 2 rules. I have 2 rules for the live chat. If you're here, it's to participate in some way. You hit the thumbs up, say a comment, or if you don't want to do any of that and you just want to hang out in the wings and not participate and just view, that's number 2. Because just your viewership is enough. That's right. Just your presence is enough. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. You guys have been incredible supporting me, and yeah, here we go. So did you guys get on the water? Do you have anything you're running into, anything you're seeing, any questions you have? Now is a great time to put them into the chat so that I can reply to them here. And I really appreciate the feedback too, because it helps this thing keep moving along. So I'm not just talking at a microphone, you know what I mean? But good evening, guys. Welcome. Welcome to the live chat. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome. I guess we'll just do this for like, hey, Bird, good evening. We'll just do this for like 5 minutes or something like that. We'll give it just another like 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll start off with it. I'm going to cover a few things tonight. I'll kind of give you a preview into that. I'm, of course, going to talk about the weather pattern we just had and the predictions for it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I was out on the water, so I'm going to share with you what I saw so that you can use that as information, whatever, going forward. Whenever you get on the water, you have something, some basis to go off of. But what a great warm-up we just had. Wow, what a great warm-up. For February, that's insane. So I'm going to talk about that and how it's going to change the water patterns, or the fish patterns, how it's going to change the lake up for us as far as fishing. And then, of course, I'm going to give you a forecast, and that's going to be the probably, I'm going to look at probably the next 2 weeks coming up in front of us. I'm going to talk about a little bit of all that stuff. So I'm going to get into it. And yeah, I'll tell you what. How about if we do this before I actually get into the meat of the chat? You guys know I have been trying to always share a little bit with the local community. And we have a gentleman who is selling selling a fishing reel. And you can find him. His name's Jerry. And he has it listed just as 2 fishing reels. And this is it. It's a Penn Warfare. And you can actually read on the description here on his listing to let you know how much braid or mono you can spool on it. But they are already spooled up with braid. They are ready to troll. So there's 2 of them, and I'd like to see us sell this in the community. I've listed this I've talked about this in a few times. So this will be the last time that I bring it up on the live chat, but it's still listed. If he still has it listed, it's still available. So do us all a favor and buy from somebody local in the community. Look them up and see if you can use that reel. Look it up. All right. And as a side note, this is really just for me. I'm actually looking for a camper. So if you guys know of somebody that's moving a camper, you tell them to give me a call because I'm interested. Something smaller than 30 feet, though. Something smaller. 20 foot would be just fine with me. But good evening. That's the start of the stream. Give it another minute maybe, and then I'll get into it. I was excited to get out on the water the other day. I actually called up Brian, Briar's Lures Brian, the guy that makes my lures for me, and he should be making your lures. And I said to him, he has more flexibility in his time than a lot of my friends do. And I said, here with the spring right in front of us, I think I'm going to be calling you, and you can come out and do some scouting with me. We'll do a little bit of fishing, a little bit of scouting. And here on Saturday was the first time we did that, and that was the thumbnail that you saw. That was Brian holding that big 20-inch smallie that he caught. So we had a good day out. We learned a lot, and I'm going to share all of that with you here in this live stream. So welcome. Okay. I think that's long enough. There's a dozen or so of us watching here, so why don't we get right into it, okay? I'm going to first start with, I want to talk about the weather pattern that we just had. Guys, I feel like we nailed this. With, we predicted this. We saw it coming. It was very clear. As much as it snuck up on me, it was really obvious what was right in front of us. And hopefully you guys capitalized on it, because I think you probably did. I don't know if you've been paying attention. There's a lot of pictures on Facebook from this past weekend. Let's say like the past 4 or 5 days. A lot of people holding some fish. So hopefully you got out there for that as well. If you remember, I was doing this website here. You guys can check it out. It's just timeanddate.com. I was talking about this moon cycle that was moving in. So this is what we were talking about. Is the moon was going to come up first thing in the morning and be overhead through most of the day. And I was telling you that right around noon, or maybe, I'm sorry, I'm looking here at this. What was it? What was Saturday? So Saturday was the 10th, right? So we're going back to the 10th. It was going to rise around 8 o'clock and peak out right around noon to 1 o'clock, something like that, on the 9th and the 10th. And this is coinciding with the new moon as well, which is a good thing. And then the 11th, again, it was going to be peaked out right around 1 or 2. And it's about 30 minutes later each day. So 2, 2, 3, 2, 3 o'clock, 3, 3, 4 o'clock, something like that. And so today's the 13th, and we're seeing it peak out about 3, 4, 4:30, we'll say. 4:30, it's peaking out. So that's good. The moon, that's a good thing. That's a good influence to have. But the moon isn't the only thing to worry about, right? We also had the weather that just came through. Did everybody else get dug out? I did not anticipate this much snow coming, but nonetheless, that's the system that came in. I think what we saw with that snowstorm that we just had is that was the bookend. I think we closed that window that we had to get on the water with active fish. So I think that was the end of it. I think we shut it down with the big snowstorm. And I think, unfortunately, I will say it, I think what we're looking at is a slow bite directly ahead of us. There's a couple reasons for that. The moon itself is actually going to move out of position a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. I did forget to mention, too, that on the 10th, you see the number right here? Right here? The moon is only 222,000 miles from the Earth. Now, that's really close. You see how it's getting closer? And it bottomed out on the 10th, and now it's starting to get further and further away. So as of now, it has moved essentially 5,000 miles further away when it's doing its rotation. So it's actually on its ascent. That's why the thumbnail last time, the moon is falling. Well, now it's rising. So it's actually ascending back up. So each patch that comes around, it's going to be a little bit higher. But we are looking at, it's going to continue to do that moving forward. And you can see right here on the 16th, we got the first quarter. And it's actually going to rise, looks like right around, we'll call it 11 o'clock. And it'll peak out after dark. So the moon's going to be peaking after dark now, so it has enough time has passed now that it's just going to be later in the day whenever it peaks out. And what you want to focus on is all the way back down here, the full moon cycle. I'm going to bring it up a little bit for you, is on the 24th. And on the 24th, we're going to have this full moon come in. And this might be interesting to you guys who like to cast whenever the full moon is up. So it's going to rise around 6:30 in the evening, and we're going to have what I would call a hard full moon. If the skies are clear, we're going to get a bright sky with a full moon, but that's 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out, that's what we're looking at. So there's a lot going on with the moon right now. The biggest influence, I think, in the systems is probably going to be the temperature, though. The temperature is really going to plummet here for about a week or so. I don't know how much that's going to affect the fish, but you can count on it. Plug it back in. It says I have audio. Just give me say yes if it came back. I think what happened was I moved the mic and it unplugged it. Just tell me yes if you got it now. I'm going to hold off there. All right, very good. So that's all that happened. It just unplugged when I moved it there. My bad. That was operator error. Please forgive me. So, yeah, I think if I'm chasing after the panfish, I'm going to favor H, but don't count out Sniders. There's still some great, I would think of I don't know what to call it, like a mid-depth flats. So you want flats that are 20 to 25 feet, I think, around this time. I was picking up, when I had Brian out, we were on the bottom, and I want to say it was like 30 to 35 feet for perch. So we caught one. We were messing around a little bit there, but they were down a little bit deeper than what perch are traditionally known to be, if you will. So I'm imagining that the panfish are going to be like that too, and you know that the crappie tend to stay up in the column more so than perch, who stay on the bottom. So if you guys are targeting crappie and you drop a line, just as a side note, if you drop a line for crappie, don't go all the way to the bottom. If you're all the way on the bottom fishing, you're probably fishing for perch, whether you realize it or not. But you want to actually bring it up and be fishing in the column in areas that do hold your crappie. So if you want to go for them, just keep the lure up a little bit higher. I've actually been having a lot of luck on what is called a high-low rig. Most of you should be very familiar with it. It's a traditional rig. And next live stream, I'm actually going to go over, I'm going to talk about it a little bit before I shut it down at the end. But I'm going to start trying to encourage you guys to learn some of these basic rigs. So I'm going to go over rigs and gear. Rigs and gear. Something to help you be a little bit more successful, or maybe just up your game just a little bit. Take it up one notch, because there's a good chance you guys are already familiar with it, but how to use it, how to apply it and stuff. But I'm going to talk more on that at the end of the stream. But yeah, I think I'd favor H. Long answer, but I think you know where I'm coming from. I think I covered it. I would not be afraid of skirting the banks near the deep, looking for the panfish, but I think I would probably hold back in about 20 to 25. So I'm looking for flats, open areas where the water's going to be a little bit warmer, and there's flats like that all over the place. When I say flats, you understand this is just areas, you know this, Paul, I think I'm saying this for everybody in the chat. Flats are underwater, and they're relatively gradual areas that kind of fan out. So it's underwater, but the flats, they're just relatively flat underwater. So you're going to use your down scan and sonar and just kind of find areas that stay about the same depth for long periods of time, and just push back in there to about 25 feet, something like that. And you'll see fish marks. That's where you want to fish. And guys, I've noticed this time of year is very blunt. The end of the fish, it just turns into desert. Like there's nothing in there. So when you get into like 15 feet of water, there's very little up there. But you get out to about 20 feet, they're just in there. They're packed in there. It's like they're hanging out with one another or something. Staying warm, I guess. Yes. So Wyatt, the beach, you go down salt. The high-low rig, I think what you're really talking about is fishing saltwater. The high-low rig is very common, very common. If you fish salt at all, you've used a high-low rig. Probably the first time you went fishing salt, that's probably the rig you used. I'm going to show you how to use it, more specifically how to tie it. I'm actually going to show you the knots so you can tie it. It's very simple to do. It takes a little bit of practice, but I think you can get it. So I'm going to tie one on live stream with you so you understand. And you can always come back and reference the live stream video and retie it. So that's coming up. That's food for thought, and I'll talk about that again before we bail on this, before we bail tonight. Let me do this real quick. I want to jump over to fishing and grilling. You guys know this is I'm an events man, and I have two big ones to talk to you about. This is the first one because it's the next one coming up. You guys can see the date here. It is March 28th through the 31st. It is at Lake Lewistown, of course, right at Nancy's Boat to Shore. So you guys can look this up. If you haven't been there yet, you need a boat to get there, but it's free camping. This is the last couple days of the free camping. But you just come out, you set up, and we're going to do a lot of fishing. We're going to set up the grill, and we're going to do some grilling. This is my unofficial start to the spring bite. This is just what I'm going off of, and it had to correspond with the free camping at Nancy's. So as of April 1st, they start to charge you to camp there. So you can camp here during this period completely free. There is no cost to this event. I'm trying to do that with all the events as long as I can. But that's it. I want to make sure you guys come out to that. So come in here, click going, and, start a post. Where dem fishes. And then start a post, and then people can comment on it to say, I know where they're at, and help us out. The second event, I don't have an event thing made up for it yet, but I do want to share it with you, of course. I've talked about it a little bit, and all I had to talk to you guys about was the date. The date is April 28th. April 28th. April 28th, and the gentleman that I'm working with to try and put this on, we've been going back and forth, bouncing this idea of a veterans-oriented event. This is something new. We've never done this before, so I need you guys to help me out with this, to try to figure this out. To navigate this one, I could use a little bit of help. If you're a veteran, I want you to mark it on your calendar. It's April 28th. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's starting to materialize. It's starting to come together. It's turning into something beautiful. It's sounding like a really good event. Here's what it looks like so far. Most of you already know Zane Weaver. Zane Weaver has a campground. It's real close to Shy Beaver. You could walk there. It's drive time. It's 4 minutes from his campground to Shy Beaver. So what we're going to do is meet at Zane Weaver's campground. It's called Rough and Ready Campground. We're going to meet at Zane's. He's got a bait shop there, so he's already part of the fishing community. I buy my bait from him almost exclusively, almost. But he's got a great bait setup. He keeps them fresh, and he carries all the right bait too. And he's very veteran-minded. When I mentioned to them we might do this April 28th veteran thing, and I said to him, what do you think about doing it here at your place? He just said, absolutely. If it's for veterans, absolutely. So he was 100% on board. And so it came together really quick just over this past weekend, and I really appreciate Zane doing that. His campground set up for everything we would need it to do for an event. I'll do an events listing so you guys can see some of the details. I'll put the map there so you can find it real easy if you're not familiar. But I do know this. There's going to be food. So if nothing else, come out, find the campground. You get to talk with me a little bit if that means anything. But you'll know where the bait shop is for Rough and Ready Campground. And we'll grill up probably some pulled pork. sounding like more and more like it's going to be pulled pork. But this is your first official invite to come out on April 28th to Zane Weaver's, and we're going to do it at lunchtime. So April 28th at noon at Rough and Ready Campground. It's a veterans event, which means I want all the veterans to come out to it, of course. Bring your family and loved ones and the kids and stuff. It's no problem. But, of course, if you're a veteran, I'd love to see you there. Good evening, John. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. And, Brian, I don't think I said hi to you either, did I? Did I say hi to Brian? I don't think I did. So good evening. Good evening, everybody. If I missed you, just know it's because my mind is on, trying to keep track here. But thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here for this. Really appreciate it. So we have a little bit of weather. I'll touch on that again before we leave, just as a reminder. But let's talk about the next 2 weeks coming up. I've already mentioned the moon. Let's talk weather. I think the weather is actually going to be a big hindrance. I'm not going to bring it up on here. I'm just going to talk about it. I guess I could bring it up. Let me do this. I'll just do weather.com, all right? But first off, today is the 13th. Right here we are. And we have the moon right now. It's rising. It's still rising in the morning and carrying through the middle of the day. But the issue is we have such a strong cold front that's pushing through. And that air temperature is affecting the water temperature, which is affecting the fish. So we're going to see a shutdown with them. If you are fishing over the next couple days, there's two things I want you to keep in mind that are going to either help make you or break you while you're out on the water. Number one, it's going to be chilly and it's going to be windy. It's going to be chilly and windy. So we're going to have double-digit winds and the temperatures are going to be low, which means it's going to be very cold out. So make sure you dress well, including a hat and maybe even something to cover most of your face and glasses for when you're riding down the lake. Anything you can do to keep your skin a little bit protected is going to help you out. It'll keep you on the water longer is what it'll do. Take a thermos of coffee too. But favor, you see on the scale here, on the sliding scale, favor your time, the time slot that you get on the water for later in the day. So if you don't get on the water until, we'll say, so it's going to rise at 9 in the morning and it's going to peak at around 4. So it's right around dark is whenever it's going to get best. So basically the closer to dark, the better. So if you don't get on the water till noon and you just fish frantically for that 4 or 5 hours, I think you should do all right. It's still going to be cold. The bite's still going to be a little bit slow. But if you've only got a window to do, and of course you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable because of the weather, just focus on that time there. Now keep in mind, though, it's going to be windy. The wind can affect a lot of things. It can affect your, of course, it can affect your boat moving and stuff. It's going to want to kick around on you and such, but it's going to just cut through your clothes. So just dress well for it. I know I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are all northern boys and girls, so you guys can take care of yourself. Nonetheless, heads up. I'm going to take a break right there. Guys, do you guys have anything on your mind? I feel like I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at you. Let me just slow down for just 1 minute. Man, it was so good getting Brian out on the water, guys. I haven't fished with Brian for so long. I was starting to wonder if he still wanted to go fishing. Silly thing to say. I just called him and he said, yeah. Wasn't even a second guess. Brian is still making lures. He was trapping hard over the trapping season, but that's behind him. So now he has more free time that he can focus on making lures. And if you want lures for the paddling and bassing that's coming up in the spring, it'd be a good idea to put your order in sooner rather than later so we can get them back to you. Besides, you're going to have the spring bite soon anyway, so you want those lures in your tackle box. Practice a little bit with them so that when you go to paddling and bassing, you're already fine-tuned, you know. All that just to say, contact Brian, Bra Airs Lures. Bra Airs Lures. I'll bring him up and I'll show you here in a minute. But yeah, good evening. What are you guys running into? You guys have any questions? Anything on your mind? This is Brian's site. You'll know it when you find it because it has these beautiful lures right up here. These are all hand-painted custom lures. He orders these blanks. He orders the bait bodies. Oh, and there's his trapping adventures here. Look at these. Guys, take a little side note here. Brian did good this year, guys. He did some trapping. Look at that muddy demon dog. Oh. I remember that day. I talked to him. Whew. So yeah, that's Brian. Look him up, Briar's Lures on Facebook, and that's how you place your order too. Just send him a message. He's got a bunch of pictures there. You guys can just scan through them, and if you see that number 38 is the one you're interested in, just tell him. And he'll paint them up any way you want them, within reason. Hey, Brian. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, 7 points should stay open all winter. Absolutely. Last I checked, they didn't even pull the docks. So the marina there, they didn't even pull the docks. I don't know for sure. I haven't been down in, it's been a week and a half, something like that. But I don't think they're going to pull docks if they don't have to. That's a lot of man hours. It's quite an operation to pull all those docks they have at the marina. So I don't think they're anticipating ice either, and they track that pretty, aggressively. But here, let's look at the weather together and get an idea what we're up against here. All right, trying to close that. All right, so is this showing the wind? Let me do this. Over here on the right column, it's showing the wind. And this is what I was talking about. Over the next couple days, you're going to see a lot of wind. So it's going to take until Monday for the winds to come back down under double digits. The overcast looks good. I like that. I'm not worried about that rain at all. But overall, the wind is a major factor. And of course, with the cooler temperatures, it's going to be a lot. Just dress well if you go out. But I think the biggest thing there is the wind. I think you guys understand. The wind just cuts you, doesn't it? It's like I can deal with a lot of cold and I can deal with a lot of wind, but I can't deal with wind and cold, Just cut you down. All right, good. Let me talk a little bit about what you can expect with the moon cycle moving into the full moon. Something that's really common so the full moon is going to be on the 24th. And something that's really common people talk about with the full moon are the couple days leading up to it. So we'd be talking about the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd. You might even go a full week before the full moon. So let's say the 19th right here. This 1 week period in front of the full moon is traditionally we'll say it's good. It's good for the bite. I'm not a big believer in how bright the moon is to make fishing better, but there are applications for it. So just keep it in mind. If you're doing the kind of top water fishing that I'm talking about, this is really effective in the summertime. This time of year, not so much. I that's just my experience. Maybe you guys have something different. When we get some warm up and the surface of the water is nice and warm and the fish like being up there, like they're seeking that temperature. I want to say warm. It's warmer than the cold water down below. So if it's a little bit warmer up top, what you'll get is they're going to go in and they're going to be more aggressively feeding off the top, pushing the bait fish and such. Ooh, I want to talk about the bait fish. But again, we're looking at late night for peak on the moon. It's 9 p.m. So starting 19th, it's going to be 9 p.m. then 10, and figure 10:30, 10:45, something like that on the 21st, leading all the way up to the full moon. And you'll see that the full moon's actually not going to rise till like 7 o'clock. It's not going to peak until late in the night, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So this full moon is what I would call a hard full moon. I think it's going to be a hard full moon, meaning I think it's going to shut them down. If it's clear and it's bright, I don't know. And be curious to see what you guys pull out of the water during that time. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd suggest you go out. I think the next 2 weeks in front of you is just going to be tough. I think we're going to have a little bit of a tough bite period. Good. So Mike Lang just said it. He says he won't be out until his boat gets worked on, so he's going to give it some time. If you have something that you haven't done yet for your boat for the spring bite, this next 2 week period, it might be the time for you to do that. Now, granted, it's going to be a little chilly out, so your fingers are going to be, like that, but it is the right time. It's a break. You're not trying to get on the water anyway. This is a good time to do it. Get your batteries topped off, get your gear in order, be ready to rock and roll. You got 2 weeks to do it. So, Harold, you're asking me, am I still throwing the small white swim bait? No, I'm not. I actually shifted over to live bait, but I'm not saying that little small paddle tail that I showed you wouldn't work. I think it would work. I'm running live bait that's that big, and it's working. So I'm running small, finessey, live bait on a high-low rig. And just, guys, the bite is so soft. It's so soft. When they come in to take the hook, I swear they're just going. You understand? They just kind of take the hook. You just feel weight when you pick up on it. When you jiggle a little bit, you're like, "Ooh, that's a fish," and you just pick up. So it's a real light bite right now, or has been, finessey. So just take your time and really pay attention. It's important with the high-low rigs that you keep tension on the line. You want to feel it the whole time. You want to make sure you can feel everything that's going on down there. And if you get into deeper water, just use a bigger weight. If you're going to 30 feet or something, you should be okay with one of the smaller weights, depending on what your rig is. And I do suggest spinner rod, light gear if you're fishing. Now, you can bring in big fish on light gear. It's okay to do that. However, we got a lot of trees at Lewistown, so you run the risk of losing it. If he does run, if they have some strength, it is cold out. You typically don't fight as hard in the cold, which is why I'm saying finesse, lighter rig, lighter tackle and such, but you do run the risk. You could get down there. So what am I running? My finesse rig, I use braid, and then I back it with braid with something like, 20 pound or something like that. But my leader, I'll put like a 6-foot leader, maybe as much even as like a 10-foot leader. And I don't like to go any less than 12 pound. I prefer 17. And that's my finesse rig. That's my light rig. I know that doesn't sound like it's a light rig, but that's as light as I go. The thing is, most of the time you won't need it. But that one fish, when you do, you're going to want it. You see what I mean? Like when you get a big one on, you don't want to lose them. So you want to have something that you stand a chance to get them in. So even fishing with a small bait, you can pick up big fish. So you want to make sure you're prepared enough that you can handle them. So yes, Harold, yes I am, and no I'm not. I suggest it, and I'm not doing it. But essentially, it's the same thing. I'm just on a live bait version. And again, that's about being finesse. Because I'm not jiggling, I'm not adding much life to it. I'm just letting that minnow down there just shimmer. Letting the minnow do the work. So Michael Lang, you asked, speaking bait fish, what's the quickest way to locate? If they're not surfacing, well, it's just you got to use your electronics. The quickest way would be to use your side scan and just run back into the coves and find them. But you're going to find them in They're going to be about 25 to 30 feet down over, 40 to 45 feet of water. I think that's what you're looking for. So when you get back into the coves, you're going to notice them at like the mouth of the cove, but as you go back into cove, it's going to dry up. They're not going to be back there. So you're going to have to catch bait deep most of the time. There's places around the lake where it's still shallow, but that's the exception to the rule. The rule is they're going to be deep. So if you throw your net and it's not long enough to get to the bottom, like here, if this is your boat up here, right? That's the top of the water. And down here is 40 feet of water, right? So this is the bottom. The bait are all going to be down here, right? So we'll say this is like 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. So you understand 30, 20, 10, So when you throw the net, your net's not going to go all the way down and catch these fish. But what your net's going to do when you throw it, it's going to close as it's going down. And you just let that net hang from your boat. And it's going to close just like that. It's not going to be on the bottom. Just hold it. Let it close. Just let it close. It's going to catch them or it's going to miss them. There's nothing you can do about it. And just really relax it. And see, I'm pausing here because I really want you to pause when you do this. And at that point, you pull your net up and it'll catch them. It'll catch. You might only get a handful in each throw. But when you're throwing deep, that's just how you have to do it. You might have to throw 5 times as many times, but you can still pull them in. You pull them in, 4 or 5 baits at a time or something like that. And if you've struggled catching bait before, you'd do a cartwheel to be able to bring in 5 baits in one throw some nights. So it might be like that. It might be a little bit slow and a little bit frustrating, but that's how you get it done. Practice patience. When you throw it, let it hang. Let the net close around and catch them. Let the net do the job. It's the right tool, but you got to use it right. You got to let it work. The best way and the quickest way to locate, if they're not surfacing, it's absolutely going to have to be with your electronics. Good evening, Matthew. Good evening. Matthew Joseph Culler Sr. Good evening. Hello from Herndon. Oh my gosh. Hey, we have 17 people in chat right now. Would you mind if you guys would do that? Anything you can do to help the algorithm out that's just interacting in some way? You can make a comment, do a thumbs up. But if you guys just want to hang out and listen, it's all good. I appreciate you guys being here. Let me do this right quick. I want to jump on to, what do I want to do here? Maybe I don't want to do that. I promise it's going to be unorganized, mixed in with organized. How about that? All right, here we go. I'm cruising around. If you guys haven't marked going yet for fishing and grilling, that's okay. But if you're interested in going, click the interested button right there. I'm trying to get a gauge on how many folks are actually coming. So you can click the interested button and it'll populate there. It'll update. It'll just say you're interested and it'll give me a count. So if you're interested in going, I'm going, of course. So I'm going to mark going. But if you're interested in going, go ahead and click on that so that I can start getting an idea of how many folks are interested and how many people are coming. Appreciate that. Rick, good evening. So I'm just going to hang out for another like 5 or 10 minutes, guys. So really, the floor is yours. We have a couple things in the pipeline coming down as far as events, and it's everything from fishing and grilling to the April 28th Veterans event at Zane Weaver's Rough and Ready Campground. Details coming soon. And then we have fishing and chilling. We got paddling and bassing after that. And that is the kayak paddling trip. And we'll stop there for now. After that, I have another one in mind, too. I think we're bringing back the bank angling series. So we'll talk about that as it gets a little bit closer to it. But we're going to do some bank angling together. I can't wait for that. I kind of regret not doing that this past year. Honestly, I had the intent to do it. I did, but Such is life. I've been busy enough basically that was my attitude. I had enough. Had enough on the schedule. So the next stream, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, guys. If you have any questions, shoot them at me now in the chat so I don't miss them. But with the last couple minutes we have here, I want to tell you the next stream we have, I'm going to go over what I'm calling rigs and rods. So I'm going to talk about which rods I'm using, my rod and reel combo setup that I'm recommending for you. And I'm going to talk about which rigs to be practicing tying for the spring bite that's coming up. So the next live stream we have on Tuesday next week, it's going to be a little bit interactive. Maybe bring a spool of fishing line with you to the live chat. And I'm going to teach you guys how to tie a knot or two, tie a rig of some sort. And we're going to try and make that. I'm going to kind of work that into these live streams as we're getting closer and closer to the spring bite. Bird, you say, hey, Gus, I'm not new to fishing, but new to fishing Raystown. Yeah, struggling. Yeah, well, Raystown is a humbling lake. So it's not just you, man. It's not just you. You would like to have someone ride along sometime and help you out with some pointers. Yeah, I do that. Oh, guys. I knew a guy that said Gus all the time. He called everybody Gus. He couldn't remember names, so he used Gus for everyone. It's all good. Yeah, I do the ride-alongs, but, Bird, I do it as a charter. So I just charge the same for a ride-along as I do for a charter. I do have a good program with it. I've done it a few times, and I go over your boat, and I talk about your gear and how you should rig your gear on your boat for the different methods of fishing. I focus on 3 different methods of fishing. I'm glad you brought this up because it's not something I talk about very often, but there's 3 major kinds of fishing as far as techniques that you'll do on Lake Raystown. It's vertically jigging, it's bank, pulled into the bank, and how to find a good spot to pull in the bank, and then of course trolling. And each one of those covers a lot of information, and so it's never enough time. But I promise you that it's packed full of knowledge. It really is worthwhile, especially with your gear in your boat. It's just a normal charter. That's what I do when I go out. But if you're running into anything specific, send me a text, would you? And if you guys don't have my cell phone yet, let me do this. When you go to randallrydes.com, that's right there, and you guys see this, randallrydes.com is everything Randall, and I have a tab there for Randall Rydes Fishing. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see I even have my personal cell phone listed right there and an email underneath it. So you are welcome to shoot me a text anytime, and I'll do my best to answer you back. So if you have a specific question with something you're dealing with, if you have anything that's like in the moment, something that's really necessary, guys, if you're out on the lake and you break down, feel free to send me a text. I have an idea of like a couple people who are always on the lake too. So even if I can't help you, I might be able to get somebody to come out and give you a hand. I'm happy to do that. But put my number into your phone. I'll bring it back up here just so if you guys want to, you can copy it down right now. It's right there. But yeah, have that number on hand. If you guys want to go fishing sometimes, you shoot me a text. There's an email there. If you want to do the email thing, that's fine. You can shoot me a message in Facebook. Guys, however you get a hold of me, just get a hold of me. Let's go fishing, man. Let's do it. The rigging your boat charter is the same thing. So I try to keep it simple. It's all the same to me. As long as we're talking fishing, I'm having a good time. All right, but hopefully you guys have my number by now. If you don't, it's right there on randallrydes.com. And by all means, if you guys want to do any of the fishing trips, I have my Raystown charters on here, my Lake Erie charters, which are going to be here before you know it, and the jig and lure that I make, and my ride-along tickets, which is going to be important for fishing and grilling, right here, right at the bottom. I did this one separate because I want to keep track of who actually got one for fishing and grilling specifically. And if you guys want to join me, the ride-along ticket, whatever we get into that day, you're getting into it with me. Don't know what it's going to be. It could be everything from bait to being at camp grilling. It's definitely going to be fishing, but it all revolves around fishing, and you'll be right there on the boat with me for the day. That's what the ride along ticket is. It is the cheapest way to get on a charter at Lewistown Lake. There is no deal better than that. So hopefully you guys take me up on it. Hopefully I see you guys all at Fishing and Grilling. So what do you say, guys? We'll do about 3 more minutes, and then I'll say goodnight to everybody. You're very welcome, Bird. I'm happy to help. Very happy. Spell check, getting the best of us. I'm glad it's there, though. Can you imagine what it would look like if it didn't have it? I guess before we shut it down, I want to do this. I just want to say thank you. I have 1 year behind me on this fishing charter. A year ago, I started a fishing charter, and it has gone through all the growth pains that you can imagine a small business like this might go through. If you guys see something by Randall Rydes Fishing Charter, whether it be a video or a live stream like this or a website, whatever it is, the events, all that stuff, that if it involves Randall Rydes Fishing Charter, know that the Randall Rydes Fishing Charter has 1 employee, and you're looking at him. It's yours truly. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving pieces, and I'm doing my best to hold it together, and I don't always do that. And you guys have stuck with me through it. There's been a lot of bumps along the way, and guys, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been a bumpy, amazing ride, and you guys have been there for it all year. Thank you. The charter doesn't succeed without you guys, so just thank you. Really appreciate it. Harold, you say, hey, my friend, maybe you should include your personal instructional ride-along included in your website. Yeah. I should do maybe what I'll do is like a synopsis of what it is. Yeah. It's one of those, it's something I've done a few times, but I'm not sure that I want to make it a product for sale, though. The people that I've done when I go out on their boat and do their rigging, these are people who've chartered with me, and I've probably met them at their houses and stuff. So I know these folks pretty well. So I'm a little bit hesitant to do that one. It's kind of a strange business model, if you will. I'm not sure how, because you never know. You might show up and someone has a John boat, and it could be really like random stuff. Of course, I'm going to throw myself into that project, but it could be so nebulous. It can be any direction. You don't know which way it's going. So everybody is a little different when you talk to them. So I don't know how I do a synopsis of it or make a video about it. I'll think on that, Harold. Michael Lang, go on a charter, guys. It's fun. That is a fact. So right now, currently, I'll tell you this, and I'm going to shut it down for the night. Right now, currently, I'm putting together my year in review, kind of a little recap, a little thank you video for the community that we have here at Lewistown. And it's just a couple catches that you guys haven't seen before. You haven't seen these. This is all new footage that's coming out. And they're little snippets, because a lot of times I'm on the water and I'll have the camera going, and it's not enough to make a video out of. So I have all these little snippets of videos, and I've been just saving them in this little file, on the computer. And now I'm going to make this year in review, and I'm going to use all those files that I saved. Got a couple striper catches, a lot of laker catches, perch, catfish, carp, all kinds of stuff on there. We even did a little spearing for carp and suckers. So it's all in there. And that one's coming out. I'm working on that one. I had it up today. And it's going to be short and sweet, and it looks good. So that's coming down the pipeline, and I'm going to try and get you guys another dock update. If you guys have any suggestions here in the last minute or two, which dock you would like to see for the dock update, if there's any suggestions, I'll take them now. I appreciate that. But please do not forget about April 28th. That is the event for veterans. We're going to do it at Zane Weaver's Rough and Ready Campground. And more details to come. I'll do an event listing for you so you don't forget it. And you guys can do the reserve on fishing and grilling and paddling and bassing. And I'll have that one up right away. The one that's, I haven't even named it yet. I'll have to work on that. Oh, I already promised you, Harold. All right, let's do it. Let's do it, buddy. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you saying that too. I really do. It's always it's reinforcing or something. It's just it's encouraging when you take someone out on a charter. A lot of times you don't hear from them. You don't get any feedback or anything. So it's great to have someone after the fact saying they do it again. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I should start a video of trips that I get skunked and have the people having a good laugh and understand it's not always a big day. All right, Hal. I got you. You know what it is, Hal, is I use the name that comes up in the chat because some people want to go by that name in chat when they're on the internet. That's all. That's all. So I just use the name that comes up. I'm sure you understand. Privacy and all that stuff, you know. We need a little more of that in this world. All right, guys. I think I'm going to say goodnight. I really appreciate you all tuning in here tonight for the live stream once again. I'm going to let you go, though. All right. You guys have a great night. I'll see you real soon, all right? Much love. Much respect. Good night, guys. See ya.